Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast. Do you dread hearing the question, what's for dinner? Whether you spend your days keeping up with toddlers, running kids to after-school activities, or juggling a career and family, getting dinner on the table can be a struggle for us all. I'm Mariefiebach, a business owner, wife, and mom of 4. I'm on a mission to build stronger families one dinner at a time, and I'm here with tips, tricks, and inspiration you need to feed your family tonight. Welcome to the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast, episode 130. I'm your host, Mariefiebach, and today we are going to talk about how to make a weekly meal plan. I'm going to walk you through how the Feed Your Family Tonight weekly meal planning system works. You want to get the free printables that go along with this episode. They are at feedyourfamilytonight.com/plan. That is where you're going to get the free weekly meal planning sheet. And at feedyourfamilytonight.com/master, where you're going to get the Feed Your Family Tonight master meal planning sheet. The weekly meal planning sheet is the document that you are going to use to make your meal plans every week. And you're going to want to print several of those because you're going to use one every week. The master meal planning sheet, you need one copy. And it is a reference for you to help you remember all of the wonderful foods that you make and help you have variety in your meal plans and help you get ideas for when you get stumped. I want to start by saying that if you've been around here, I am a big fan of meal planning, but I was not always that way. For many years, I resisted the idea of meal planning in a big way. I refused to feel like I was constricted by a meal plan. I did not want to put in the time and the effort. It didn't seem like the return on investment was there. The thought of sitting down and writing a meal plan just did not feel like it was a worthy use of my time. My idea of meal planning was going down to my basement deep freeze and grabbing some kind of a protein, going through my really well-stocked pantry, and I would pick out some things to go with that protein, and I would put dinner together at 5 o'clock at night. And we ate fine. We had a lot of hamburger. We had a lot of boneless, skinless chicken breasts because both of those things can be thawed and cooked at 5 o'clock at night. But we didn't have a lot of variety. And I didn't realize how much energy I was spending during the day thinking about what I was going to have to make at 5 o'clock at night. The best analogy I can have for this is years ago, I had to have a major surgery, and I did not realize how sick I was until after I had gotten through that surgery and gotten through the recovery and started living life not sick. I did not realize how sick I was until I felt better. And meal planning is the same way. You do not realize how much of your brain space you are using to think about what you're making for dinner until you take the time to meal plan at the beginning of the week and your brain is free and you don't have to think about it. You're not sitting at your office at work thinking about what you're going to make for dinner at 5 o'clock, or do you have to go to the grocery store? Do you have the ingredients that you need to make that dinner? You're not playing with your kids at the park thinking, oh, good gosh, I'm going to have to go home and make dinner and nobody's going to like what I'm making for dinner. Weeknight dinners take a lot of brain space, but if you can spend 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of the week and really getting a hold of your meal plan for the week, you will save yourself so much brain space. When your kids ask what's for dinner, you can say, look at the meal plan. My kids go and grab my phone because I post my meal plan on Instagram every week. My meal planning notebook is usually up in my office because that's where I work. And they just go and look at my Instagram to find out what's for dinner. I don't even have to answer the question anymore because they know that that's where it's posted. They know what's coming. Meal plans fail because they are either one size fits all and they don't take into account your family's dietary needs, your family's preferences, and most of all, your family's time. Weeknight dinners are not about the recipes. Weeknight dinners are about time management. I cannot emphasize this enough. If weeknight dinners were just about recipes, no one would have trouble getting dinner on the table on busy weeknights because we have a million recipes on the internet in the palm of our hand. And it's not to say that recipes are bad. We need recipes to have new ideas and to create delicious food in our family. But recipes alone are not going to make a meal plan work. What is going to make a meal plan work in your home is time management. Weeknight dinner success is more about time than it is about the recipes. So when you get the Feed Your Family Tonight weekly meal planning sheet at feedyourfamilytonight.com/plan, the first column is all about your schedule. And when you start filling out this weekly meal planning sheet, and I fill it out on Mondays, but you can fill it on any day of the week. If you meal plan on the weekends, start with Friday or Saturday and work your way around the meal sheet. You want to look at your schedule. What kind of day are you going to be having? Are you going to have a day where you have meetings back to back at work and you know that you're going to be exhausted? Do you have the kind of day where you're going grocery shopping, you don't have a lot planned for the day, you kind of think you might have some energy to try a new recipe, or you might have some energy to do some extra meal prep so you can be successful later in the week? Look at your schedule and plan the kinds of meals that work for that kind of day. In the next few weeks, I'm actually going to be digging deep into that concept where we all have different kinds of meals that work on different kinds of days. I'll give you kind of a highlight version here. Is there are days where I need to pull something out of the freezer and I need to quickly thaw it. It is a quick reheat dinner day because there's just not time. There are days where I want to get into a big cooking project and it's a long cook day where I know that this recipe is going to take a lot of work, but I might be doubling or tripling it so I have extra for a day when I don't have a lot of time. So there's kind of short cook days, there's long cook days, and there's reheat days. And you kind of want to start thinking about what kind of day are you having. And you do that when you start writing down your schedule. That is the first part of the P, which is the plan and the prep. We're going to get into the S next, which is set a dinner bell. Your dinner bell is the target time that you want to sit down for dinner. In some families, that is the same time every night. It is very consistent. In my house, it is rarely the same time every night because I have kids that have a lot of after-school activities. We've got dance class and play practice and football practice, and they are all happening somewhere around the dinner hour. And so sometimes we're just kind of adjusting when we're going to be eating. The other thing is there are days where our family has to eat in shifts because there isn't a time when everybody can physically be there at the same time. When you have that situation, your dinner bell can be one of two things. It can be the time that you have to have dinner ready for the first person to eat, or it can be the time where almost everybody's going to come to eat and you're going to make a late plate for someone else. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but you want to set your dinner bell for when you need to have dinner done. Once you know when you're going to eat and you know what kind of schedule you're having, that is when you plan your meals and you write down your dinner ideas for the kind of day that you're going to have. So if you're having a day where you are running from activity to activity, I give the example of there was a day where my girls had piano from 3:45 to 4:45, soccer from 5 until 6, and I had a PTO meeting at 7. I needed something that was hands-off cooking. And so I planned roast chicken because I could prep it the night before and I could put it in the oven and it could be cooking while I'm running my kids to all of their activities. And then the second we walk in the door from soccer practice, we eat dinner and then I go off to my PTO meeting. There are meals that are more complex, but the hands-on cooking time is shorter. A meal like roast chicken, yes, I have to prep it and it takes a little bit of time and I can do that the night before or earlier in the day. But I don't have to be at the stove cooking when I'm running my kids to all of their activities. And then there's a meal like stir fry where you have to be at the stove adding the ingredients one by one immediately before you're eating. So I'll plan a meal for like stir fry on a day when it might be a busy day, but I know that I'm going to have 30 minutes right before dinner and I can stand at the kitchen stove and physically cook. You have looked at your schedule. You have written it down on the weekly meal planning sheet. You have set your dinner bell, which is your target time that you are going to eat. And you have planned what kind of meals you're going to have on the different days of your week. The next step is to write the prep. Prep needs to be written on the day you do it, not the day of the meal. So let me give you an example of that. If I am having grilled steaks on Sunday, I'm going to write on Friday that I need to thaw the steaks, and on Saturday that I need to salt the steaks so that I can grill them on Sunday. When you start writing your prep, it is going to save you so much brain space, because for me, if I can't get dinner on the table in 45 minutes, I need to have a step written on my prep where either earlier in the day I need to do a step or the day before I need to do a step. And I write that on the day, and I am in the habit of doing my prep when I clean up my dinner dishes because my kitchen's already a mess, especially if I'm dealing with meat or something. I want to make sure that I'm cleaning and sanitizing my countertops off. I'm going to have to be cleaning my kitchen anyway, so why not do prep for a couple of days later when I'm cleaning up my dinner dishes? I don't want to spend more than 5 or 10 minutes on prep, but 5 or 10 minutes can save you so much time the next day. Just think of the example of thawing meat. If your meat is already thawed, how much easier is it to cook dinner? So much easier. So write the prep on the day that you need to do it. The magic of the Feed Your Family Tonight meal planning system comes with the next step, which is always have a backup. A backup meal is anything that you can get on the table in 20 minutes or less with ingredients that you have in your house all the time. Because when you need a backup, it is going to be too late. Last week on Monday, I did not get my meal plan done because Monday was a day that dealt our family a lot of life. We had a major appliance break. We had a couple of cars that had to go into the shop. Our family's considering purchasing a different car. I've got teenage drivers, and the way cars are in our house, we're kind of going to be needing a couple of more cars. So my husband and I wanted to go to some dealerships and test drive a couple of cars. I was busy at work all day. I was working from the minute I started until right before I had to run with my husband to the car dealerships, and Meal Plan Monday didn't happen. But I wasn't that worried about it because I knew I had taco meat in the freezer. I knew I could thaw it. Now, our microwave was the major appliance that broke. We've got a microwave hood combination. It broke, and so I had to thaw the meat on the stove, which wasn't that big of a deal, but it was out of my usual routine. But I had taco shells, I had lettuce, I had taco meat, and my kids were able to reheat the taco meat, feed themselves dinner while my husband and I were out test driving cars. Everybody has a time when life happens. And for me, that was last Monday, but I had a backup meal ready to go. On your master meal planning sheet, you want to think about your backup meals. What are the meals that you can get on the table in 20 minutes or less? A lot of families use breakfast for dinner. They keep a pancake mix and a dozen eggs, and they can make scrambled eggs and pancakes, and dinner can get on the table. Some families do spaghetti. They've got a jar of spaghetti sauce and a box of pasta. You can throw that together, maybe thaw some vegetables that are frozen veggies in the freezer, or cut up some fruit, and dinner gets on the table. One gal, she said she makes omelets for her backup meals. It's just eggs and whatever filling she happens to have around your house. It doesn't really matter what the backup is, but you want to start thinking about that. So that transitions us into talking about the master meal planning sheet. We kind of talked about the weekly meal planning sheet, how to set your schedule, set your dinner bell, write your prep so that you are ready for the week. The master meal planning sheet is where you are going to list all of the meals that you make for your family that they will eat with a reasonable amount of acceptance. In my house, I rarely get to everybody loving a meal. If I can get 4 out of 5 eating it without complaint, I'm good. So you want to define your success according to what you think is reasonable. Do a brain dump. And I mean, I write everything down from frozen chicken nuggets to boxed macaroni and cheese to fancy meals that take hours to make, like homemade pot stickers. And you are going to do a brain dump on this master meal planning sheet of all of the meals that you make, so that when you go to write your weekly meal plan and you're like, I don't want to have chicken all night and I don't know what to make, rather than starting with your phone and spending hours scrolling for new recipes, start with your master meal planning sheet and see if there's some of your old favorites that you haven't made in a while. We can waste so much time looking for recipes. And most of the time when we're digging for new recipes, we usually go back and make one of our old favorites anyway. I want to save you that time, and I want you to start by going to your master meal planning sheet. Now, if you want to get some new inspiration and you want to get some new recipes, great. Go and look at some of your favorite blogs, look at your favorite magazines, and start collecting some new recipes. And as you collect those new recipes, I want you to think about what kind of night would you serve that particular recipe. Is it a recipe that is a short cook, but you need to be hands-on, like a stir fry? You're standing at the stove. It's not going to take you long. It's a 30-minute meal, but you have to be there working for 30 minutes. Is it the kind of meal that you can prep ahead and put in your oven or your slow cooker? Is it the kind of meal that you can throw in your Instant Pot so it's short cook and hands-off? Those are kind of the golden nuggets of dinners, right? Something that is hands-off and doesn't take long to make. I love those meals. Think about when you are looking for new recipes, what kind of night are you going to serve that recipe on? And then do not try that recipe on a busy weeknight. Try that recipe on the weekend when you have a little bit more time for it to not go 100%. Because there's nothing worse than having cranky kids and you're on a tight schedule and you're running, and you're trying to get dinner on the table and you're fixing a new recipe. And as you're fixing the recipe, you realize you forgot 2 ingredients or you didn't read it well enough. And there were 2 steps that you were supposed to do that take 20 minutes, or it was supposed to be marinating in the refrigerator for 2 hours ahead of time. Try new recipes on weekends, or sometimes I try them in the summer when the stakes aren't quite as high. I'm not quite as rushed in the summer. If it works for your family, then in a few weeks, put it on your weekly meal planning sheet on a weeknight. But avoid trying new recipes on busy weeknights because you're setting yourself up for failure. Next week, we are going to dig into a little bit more about this concept of what kind of meals to put on the different kinds of days that you have in your home. For now, friends, I am so thankful that you joined us. If you enjoyed this, could you just take a minute, pause your player, and give a 5-star rating of the Feed Your Family Tonight podcast? And if you want to be extra generous and take a minute or 2 to write a quick review, it would mean the world to us, and it would help others learn that they can have weeknight dinner success in their home. I am so thankful for all of you, and I can't wait to talk with you next week. For now, friends, you've got this. Take care.